Today is Thursday, the 18th day of August, 2015, and you're listening to Reality Extraction on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I am your host, Mr. Rowe, and I would like to say first and foremost that tonight's show has been made possible with the graciously appreciated assistance of the lovely Helena Phoenix. Thank you, Helena. I would also like to thank Nighthawk, Mike Ringley, for allowing me this time to present to you my thoughts and guests and their thoughts, which do not necessarily reflect the views of this network. I am grateful to this network and Mr. Ringley for allowing me the freedom to exercise this right of expression. It is the mark of an intelligent mind that can entertain any concept without necessarily buying into it. My guest tonight is via a proxy of time offset by a few days. This presentation has been pre-recorded. There will be no calls tonight. The duration of the show will be dedicated to my guests. He will be presenting his story, responsible for the rebirth of a seemingly crazy notion that we have all been deceived in a most peculiar way, to a level, to a point, to an extent, well beyond the scope, comprehension of some people. Information will be presented and discussed, conclusion will also be addressed. And so I invite you, the listener, to open your mind, relax, simply listen, and entertain for the next 2 hours this fascinating engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to present to you Mr. Matthew Powerland.
Well, I realized yesterday after our interview that my hard drive was doubling up suddenly phantom files, like auto backing up files, and I've never even asked the feature to auto back up that many. So my hard drive backed up before I could finish it. So it's like this is like take 3. I don't know if we should even like mention this. And so I'm in this garage right now, but I just thought I'd bring it up. It's like, and all I want to do is just do one interview about this topic, so I can kind of keep the focus on stretching people's imagination, and stop going with the amount they gave you with their picture of the world as a ball. And just like the host here is just now flipped out. My friend here, who I'm boring her Wi-Fi signal while I'm painting. So it's like it's if it's not the signal, it's like this patent I think people should look up. Where my sister did a lot of research at Harvard about they're using pixels and digital technology transmitted through screens to reformat the brain, and how it receives information through screens. And there's a patent, neuroelectric, it's considered non-lethal weaponry. It's called a neuroelectromagnetic weapon, where it harnesses sound waves like sound cannons on the street, but a more subliminal method where it could come through smartphones.
Well, they've been doing a lot of work in this kind of field. I know that because there's other topics on the network that I'm on, and we do address, synthetic telepathy or, these types of things. So definitely you're on the mark there.
Yeah, well, in 2010, I had an attempt on my life when I went public with the show on TV. I was told this by some individuals of influence from the sphere of influence, and I spent about 3 years. Hold on, let me make sure this is recording. And I spent about 3 years telling myself this can't be possible. And the more I did research, I realized that we only have like events that nobody else can apply the scientific method, or like 5 independent bodies can't see if the Earth is a ball. It's basically Russia and the US. And basically we have these sort of windbag, knighted scientists all pouring out of the Royal Society of London, England, who espouse any kind of mathematical extrapolation on the tenets that Copernicus was right. The shape of the Earth is a ball, and therefore energy and physics conduct themselves this way. So Newton, Copernican, and Darwin combined create the world you live in, and this is from the proponents and the people that are like knighted and are branded through the Royal Society in England. And then to glue all these equations together, we have two other components, which is basically a security apparatus around the South Pole, so you don't go checking around. Which means that if it's flat, then it's about 64,000 miles, maybe, or even more, circumference ice coast or coastline that is heavily patrolled by 47 navies. And then you can't go up further than 60,000 feet without FAA clearance or, a permit or a badge. And people want to get the whole view, so they employ wide-angle lenses on their cameras and whatnot. So then you have artwork gluing together the equations. And so basically this is your proof that the Earth is a ball. And if it's not a ball, and I can't go too far south without having a gun pointed at me, and I can't go too high up without being branded a terrorist state like North Korea or anybody who's like not part of the group, or maybe they're part of the group. It's just like a shell game for they can have some sort of false flag to trigger any kind of like security event or a worldwide war or the whatnot as a distraction before people all wake up and go, you know what? The only picture I have of the Earth is a picture. I've never seen that point of view, which is probably the greatest existential question facing humanity. They have a security apparatus in place in the event people start to pop and wake up. It's just so interesting to see how people can turn. And doing thorough research on a patent by a doctor called Robert Sweet, spelt the name the way you would spell it, neuroelectromagnetic weapon patent, U.S. patent something, that'd be a code. It's a patent which basically was developed, I think, in '96, which uses a subliminal, superliminal message generating machine using different ELF and frequency waves, sound waves that are undetectable, that can triangulate through smartphones, computer screens, television screens, and program the individual and format. And if the individual is playing video games already, then you could kind of format or easily kind of send in these three-dimensional thoughts or sentences. You can type in a sentence and it shows up as a thought in a targeted individual's mind. So you can easily just change anybody who's like half conscious or half unconscious, and they're not clear, or they're they got voices in their head, or they've had their brain formatted by television signals, and they go to bed with TVs on and they play a lot of video games and watch a lot of movies and whatnot. You could basically send in thoughts, and people think these thoughts are their own, especially if there's kind of a tense situation. So you could basically kind of turn anybody against somebody. And it just seems like if I don't have problems recording my voice, the area I'm involved, suddenly an individual goes 180. I'm seeing that right now with the simple kind of challenge to say that there's more land than what they show you on the ball. And people are having this carryover habit that, no. They lied about the shape, but they wouldn't lie about the amount of land. It's like, well, if they're lying about the shape, why would they lie to you about the shape? Probably because it all has to do with scarcity, and scarcity has to do with the amount of real estate. So they're just lying to you just for kicks. Now it's about going back to Columbus and revisiting Columbus and kind of putting yourself in that mindset. It was the Dark Ages before the Renaissance. What were they saying was the amount of real estate for the surface so that lords and kings and queens could have some sort of legitimacy or authority over villages or states or counties? They obviously had a calendar, so the calendar had to be based off of the movement of the stars and the sun for crops, and obviously that had to be based on a model. We don't really talk about that model. We kind of say it was it's kind of like this sort of Dark Age debate, and then suddenly there was like light, and Columbus found America, and then there was a Renaissance because of what, Copernicus? Or we found abundance because we found a whole continent. So a flat Earth revolution that involves the same amount of continents that they show you you're still stuck with the same problems. You still have, we don't have enough land. We don't have enough food. Population is growing. What are we going to do with the atmosphere? The climate is changing. Well, maybe you're changing it. Well, let's keep changing it so we can control it, so we can control the food supply because we got more people. But if you have more land, carbon tax, there's no need for that. If you have more land, like, I'm not saying like we're going to ignore the wildlife and forestry and being custodians of what we have, but I am saying we can move to another pocket instead of depleting just this area. The North American native moved around when they ran out of berries, and they also stopped hunting buffalo in one certain area so that they could still have buffalo, and they moved. But you can't move to another piece of land. You're told this is a ball, this is all of it, and they'll go poke around the South Pole. And now it's like, I think I've thrown the world in a cluster fuck, and obviously they're going to unroll within the flat Earth movement, and they're going to push the border of the globe, but in a flattened model. And these domers are just showing up. And I was going to ask you, like, back on that point, like, so it's like, we got to watch out for, we're using one mono-technological communication platform. It's called digital through their airwaves, okay? There's no analog and digital, which would be great. Now it's just one. And they actually passed a law so you can't communicate or transmit information through analog. You can't manufacture analog telecommunications equipment. It's against the law, international law now. That's kind of strange. So everything can be hubbed and heard through one and recorded through one system. And we've been having a heck of a time trying to record this thing. And then the smartphones are digital and blah, blah. So it's like this. There seems to be a definite sort of intention or event going on Facebook, YouTube, and the internet to drown me out, to say I'm not the author of this work, and to discredit me as some sort of psyop or the whatnot, when all I'm asking to do here is do a rigorous, strict, hardcore, hyper-realist application of the scientific method to discover whether or not the Earth is a ball. And this involves a north to south double traverse or continuous straight line across the continent we call Antarctica, or the South Pole. And if it's a ball, I should show up on the other coastline and look like a fool. But before we can even get this expedition off the ground, I have people kind of being appointed to run the expedition without me, looking for my blessing so that it looks like they have my blessing. But that could be staged and faked. You got people that are like insisting on more CGI illustrations, but of this sort of glass enclosed flat Earth. And I think the final battlefield is going to happen with the Christians and the Catholics, or in the religious sphere of influence. And it's quite interesting. I mean, the globalists, the atheists, the scientific community, that was a piece of cake when we put the telescope not up towards the stars, but directly parallel with the flat plane of water or the desert, and we see that object that's supposed to be below the curve at 30 miles is still there. So we know it's flat. Now it's at what point does the land end or drop off? So we see this carryover of like this, the amount of land shown on a ball is carrying over into the flat Earth now. So, and there seems to be this real push to just sort of don't even go there. It's enclosed, and people are like, it's like I feel them kind of wanting to feel enclosed. And I put it to the Christians, and this is it. Like, so if the universe or the universe or the one version, and not the multiverse I'm talking about, the universe they told you about, or the universe of the flat Earth, or God's creation, if God is supposed to be the creator of the universe, then to create time and space you need time and space. You need to be able to create time and space. So therefore, to create time and space, God, or the force, or the creator of the universe, must be outside and not bound by the laws of time and space. This is logically follows. If you're going to be a creator of time or the universe, you've got to be able to create time and space for there to be temperature, energy, and then matter, and then life, and etc. Or you can be an atheist and believe in infinite regression and say, well, before the universe was created, what was it? Well, it was like the collapse of the other universe that was created before the collapse of it, and it just keeps going and going. There's no primal causality. There's no primary cause that makes an effect. Or you go, well, there was a force that started the universe, call it the Big Bang, or whatever they want to call it, the Jesuits. But there's a force that's not limited by the laws of this universe in order to be able to create those laws. It logically follows. So then we extrapolate, well, God would be, in order to make all this massive creation called the universe, would be a being of infinite will, infinite power, infinite knowledge. It's outside the bounds of finity or finiteness. And it's an omnipotent, all-knowing, omniscient, immutable, outside of time and space, transcendent entity, the greatest force. So then this infinite, powerful being has the power to create the universe, but it only creates a small disk in a dome. Ugh, I'm exhausted. That's all the universe for me. I can't I don't think I'll be able to do another universe. That pretty much took everything out of me, out of all my infinite powers. So, and then people go, well, it's the idea that we're significant and we're the center of the universe. And it's like, well, this kind of sounds like a bit egotistical, like somebody's trying to, flatter you or pander to you that you're you're God's creation, but it doesn't omit that you're not part of a force or a creator's creation if there's more land and there's another sun around another big geothermal earth pocket, right? It doesn't preclude that you're insignificant just because of, either or. There's people who believe in the ball and kind of work it out that, we're somewhat significant because of the beauty of the earth around them. And that's their choice, to believe in cartoons and then contradict or deny the telescope seeing the boat on the horizon. That's their choice. You're allowed to choose.
I'm sorry, just to interject. You mentioned another sun. Down at Newmeyer Station, there are photos. I've seen them on the of what appears, what some people are calling Nibiru, but it looks like a second sun.
It's a second. In order to have this model work, where we're pre-Columbus or history is just repeating itself, there's more land. Well, we've already done this massive area here, and to actually wager and push the imagination beyond the ball. And why did they use the ball? And there's a security perimeter. It's the same thing they told Columbus: you're out of your mind, you're the Antichrist. And he said, no, it's just a whole other continent. And that's all that I'm saying. It's like, it's flat and there's another big huge area, warm body oceans, where after you get a certain point into the South Pole, there's warm bodies of water that shouldn't be there if it's a globe, and it's in the middle of like this southern polar ice cap that's tilted away from the sun, like they say on a ball. There shouldn't be a big huge area of like 500 square miles, or maybe it starts to open up. There's a couple other big areas and it gets to 1,000 square miles, then it gets to 150,000 square miles, and actually it's got its own sun, that area, kind of like our Earth, right? So, and there's a second light source on camera. Yeah, go on.
We don't have to, in other words, we don't have to get in a spaceship and travel through space to find another world. All we need is maybe something to get across a little bit of ice and a boat to go across a little bit of water and some food.
Well, that's where the expedition comes in, and I'll get to the expedition, but I also want to talk about, because I never was able to get this out. Like, so the Christians, I just want to finish with the Christians and the Catholics, and then I want to give a little nugget to the flat earth community, the domers, as well as those that think there's more land. And they could choose between themselves which deity they want to worship, one of finite abilities or one of infinite abilities. Here you got the Christians and Catholics, and I think this is going to be where the big spiritual warfare is going to happen in the mind, and they're going to be divided, is that at no point in the Bible, which all of Christianity is based upon, does it say the earth is hold on, I'm going to check to make sure this is recording. Hold on. It's still recording. At no point in the Bible, okay, does it say that the earth is a ball. At no point. In fact, it says the earth is immovable and fixed. But you'll ask the average Christian, what shape of the earth is, what's the shape of the earth? Well, it's a ball spinning around the sun. That's not what the Bible says. And so that's going to be an interesting schism, because then you got to go, well, did Jesus believe the earth was flat or a ball? And this is where we go from believing in Jesus and believing for him. And it's so funny how people will actually, because they believe in Jesus, they'll believe for him as well. And they'll say, no, Jesus believed the earth was a ball. Oh, that's interesting because he never mentions that. And Jesus is supposed to be the incarnation of God in the living flesh of a male body, of a human form. So it's God in the shape of man. And so you're saying Jesus said the earth was a ball. Well, that means that Jesus discovered America. Or Jesus discovered the earth was a ball before Copernicus. Maybe he was nailed to the cross because he said the earth was a ball. Is that what you're saying? Not for our sins? But then they'll go make allowances. Well, that was before Copernicus. Oh, Jesus, God incarnated in the form of man, the creator of this universe. That doesn't matter because that was before Copernicus? Well, Jesus wasn't a physicist. Well, that's equivalent to saying God's not a physicist. God didn't even know what he created. So you can have all these Christians where their faith is based off this book about creation. That's what the Bible is, right? It's the book about creation and our life in this creation and the tribulations, lessons learned, remedies appropriated, future remedies in the event, parables, messages, lessons, rules, laws, commandments. And it's all about this, how we conduct ourselves in this creation. But at no point in this book about creation does it say the earth is a ball. In fact, it says it's immovable and fixed. And then you're all going to drop that book in the name of Christ or the Bible. You're going to reject the Bible. That's where it's going to get really interesting. And you see this, and they're going to say, well, like Jesus didn't know what he's talking about, right? Oh, so God doesn't know what he's talking about. That would be antichrist, right? So a lot of Christians and a lot of Catholics are actually going to take the side of the Pope, who flips this book every day, right? Uses this book every day with cardinals and bishops and priests and monks and brothers, flip it every day. And they're all going to turn their back on it, right? To push that cartoon that's been provided to you from the military-industrial complex. These are facts, and I believe these facts are so ingrained into the mind of human beings that they're going to contradict themselves in the greatest spiritual manner. And it'll be very interesting. I mean, even the Jews and the Muslims are going to be looking at, they're going to be on the sidelines going, what the heck has happened here? And I have Jewish friends that, they're pretty open to the idea. I don't want to sound like I'm making a stereotype, but I've had a couple property owners that I've worked with and people that I've paid rent to. They're of the Jewish faith. And actually, I think I probably have more Jewish people on my side. And you tell a Jewish guy, I think there's more land, and his ears perk up. You know what I mean? You tell them there's more real estate across the South Pole, and they're like, all right, let's investigate. They're not saying too much. They're on the sidelines. And the Muslims, well, it'll be interesting to see how they're going to react too. They might actually be more Christian than the Christians about this. So, and I already see people in Christianity in place, ready to push the dome, that are kind of aligning themselves with me. And it just seems like this, I would almost say the flat earth domers are like globalists in flat clothing, because they're still going to have the same issue of scarcity. It's going to be even creepier because now they're going to actually like obliterate all science as a fraud. They're going to arrest what we thought were, democratically elected or selected officials. And then there's going to be a power vacuum to maintain order. And that'll be a military police action worldwide. And you still have the same problems. And now you have this kind of mass hysteria. We're on some disc and we can't go check out the ice wall and look into space. And we got to keep you back because we can't have a boat rush and all this other nonsense, as opposed to just having a delicate application of the scientific method through peaceful exploration, where I'm leading an expedition, and I'll explain why I need to lead this expedition and why I should lead this expedition. And I'm the first one to propose this type of expedition, and I'll tell you what's wrong with the previous expeditions. So the fact that I'm being demonized all over the internet, it's very timely because this thing's getting bigger. And, if I cut a ball in half, what do I got? I got half a ball. I got a dome, right? And then you got these domers who are going to be like, they have to explain was it like underneath the Earth's crust. Well, then they'll quote the Bible, or they'll try to finish off the geometry so it kind of looks smooth. And they'll say, well, as is above, as is below. It's like, so we got a bottom dome and we got a top dome. Oh, yeah, that's interesting. If I glue those two domes together, I'm back at a ball. So we've gone from living on a ball to living in a bubble. So somebody really wants to contain you with whatever it is. Oh, yeah, it's all a lie, but not the amount of land. So it's like, well, no, the lie is because of the amount of land. And, stop attaching all this esoteric luggage and just come with me on this adventure where you can watch a true application of the scientific method. Now, here's where it gets interesting. How do you apply the scientific method? And we know you're going to apply it and you're not going to sell out and you're not going to stage reaching the other coast. And in fact, it's a ball. You took like $2 million in the bank account. I could have 6 different teams going with me, all varying theories about the shape of the earth, and they all got bought out, right? But it's all on TV. It's all going to be on the screen, right? And isn't this all about the screen duping us, Math? So you're going to use the very tool. It's like, well, I'm going to use the tool in a manner that's real-time documentary with a lot of cameras and a lot of accountability. But I'm going to put into place a mechanism to police the true and pure application of the scientific method. And I'll tell you how we're going to do that accountability in a minute. But I want to talk about the expedition, why I think I should lead it. Because I'm so open to my detractors and their deferring models that I want to have in my budget, in my campaign, that I'm pitching through this crazy notion, the flat earth revolution. My film presentation, which is part 1, part 2 has not been released, and part 3 will be the expedition, okay, is I want to have a budget of $1 billion. That's a lot of money, okay, to go across the South Pole. Haven't we already done it? Nope, people have gone to the pole, back out the way they came, and all double traverses have no witnesses, or there's the same people that are involved in this treaty. So they have their own pundits and shills and paid officials, and there's no real application. Like, we don't really know we don't know if we went to the moon. There's only, a couple hundred or whatever it is, and there's only a couple hundred that went to the South Pole. So really, the rest could be compartmentalized, pyramid top down between the departments, one working on this piece of the Mars rover and that piece of this map and and then it all comes together, and then you just see a thing go up and you go, oh, I guess they're going. And then you have like a lateral operation where it's like some people talking through an earpiece, these astronauts on camera faking it, or you have these people doing the same thing with the South Pole, and we just have still photos, and everybody else like, ooh, looks cold, don't want to go there. So you really just need a couple hundred or 1,000 people to control this. And you tell anybody, like most men, unfortunately, and I don't mean to, I'm just going to say how it is, ladies, and I wouldn't preclude ladies either, but you tell most men, they sign this NDA, you can't disclose it, and you've already profiled him to see if he's got some tendencies towards, vices or breaking the law, and you can maybe even go out one night and get a couple hookers and get it on camera and always have that on him. And then you get him to sign an NDA or the whatnot, and then you can't disclose what I'm about to tell you, and then he signs it, you tell him, and you say the pay is $1,000 an hour. Well, you know what? The budget for NASA is into the billions, and when you look at the history of it, into the trillions. And all we got is artwork, gluing together these equations from the Royal Society. Okay? So this is the challenge. We need to really prove it's a ball. Okay? I've done the curvature test with the telescope. There's no curvature. We need one final proof here, and that's the extent of land if it's flat, and also to prove it's flat. And that would be a straight line across the South Pole. And in that, I want to have an opportunity for 4 other competing theories. One expedition would be the globalists themselves, the status quo, and they're scientists. And they have a budget out of the $1 billion for a boat to bring their equipment, and we're going to build snowcats. Big cats. I already talked about this. People are sending me in some graphics, and they want to be on the team building these things. I actually got a gentleman tonight who sent me, this thing is racing right now. People are sending me some pretty interesting drawings of big tread machines that are amphibious and can go across the ice. And I'm asking them, what's the torque? What's the weight capacity? Can put a hitch on this. I want a different module being pulled that's semi-powered. I want wind turbines on the top because we're going to have to harness energy, other means than fuel, because just coincidentally and conveniently, the Antarctic Treaty Project has a clause where you're not allowed to bring any kind of combustible excess storage on your shipping vessel of combustible fuel, meaning gas. So I can't gas power a motorbike and go, see you later, I'm going to see the South Pole. I got to do it by foot. So they have this in their clause. So they made it very hard. So what kind of energy sources do we have available? Well, we've got water. Oh, they banned the water-powered engine. That's fine. Steam powers, we can use steam. So we have to find a way to melt that water and make steam and use the steam to power certain components of our motor. And we can also extract the hydrogen from the water that's melting that we're scooping up as we go across the tundra of the South Pole and fuel hydrogen fuel cells. And we can do this all with a couple lithium batteries, as well with wind energy, because we have 194 mile per hour winds in the South Pole that we can harness and turn that energy into an output that moves the vehicle forward. On the hitch is going to be another module for lodging, a common area cafeteria, and food storage. The food is going to be compact food that's going to be able to feed 100 people per deployment unit, cat, hitch, and module. There's going to be 6 of these, 12 vehicles, including what's hitched. The food storage is going to be compact food, superfood like sprouts that are going to be growing in a little UV garden that can turn over every 2 days. We don't need soil. 3 days, I believe. That we're going to make from seeds, lentils, beans, including all these nutritious, nutty, small, compact food sources. And then we'll have some steaks and some meat for energy and protein that we can ration out from week to week to 2 weeks to once a month, depending how far we have to go if we don't hit the coastline. And there'll be one of these systems for each expedition team. One will be the globalists. So you want to prove it's still a ball? Here's your shot. One's going to be for the Hollow Earthers if they can step up to the plate. I don't know what they're going to do with their budget. They might want to brandish some swords because they might be fighting dinosaurs underneath the Earth's crust in that inner world. So you do what you want with your budget. I'm buying nuts, seeds, lentils, and beans and stacking it with some good wild game. The water is going to be the snow. So we can have like packets of juice or energy packets. And we're going to be sprouting. And that's going to be a lot of food for our journey. There's going to be the globalists in one, the hollow earthers in another. There's going to be the flat diskers or the domers or the people believe in a finite sort of flat earth. They'll have their own system as well. There's people who believe that we live in some sort of yoke or concave bowl. I don't know if these people are real because I would have seen the coastline by now with an anti-fog telescope if it's curving up and we're inside a concavity. Not the case. I see it across a flat plain, the city of Chicago, and I would not see it like it's flat if it was concave. I would see it up. So I don't know who these people are, but if not, we'll have an extra ship for the other 3 teams plus our team. And I need 2 deployment units for our expedition in the event we don't hit that coastline, because then we're going to need a lot more equipment, provisions and supplies, and even man and woman power. So this is it. And I'm going to have a couple detractors on my team. I'm going to have a couple doubting Thomases, not people that would be destabilized or want to sabotage the mission, but people who are really curious to apply a very rigorous, pure application of the scientific method. And that mechanism to police a pure application of the scientific method I'm about to disclose. It might be a bit fantastical, but it's the only way I could think of besides like dividing the world into a bloody civil war, which some people have been accusing me of trying to trigger. And all along, this is all about just doing a straight line until I'm stopped or we're stopped, or to see at what point foul play happens to prevent the expedition. And I'm being inclusive with every other status quo model that's being posited right now in academia and across the World Wide Web with new theories and even revisiting some ancient ones and some hybrids. So how do we police that all these teams aren't part of a big, huge fake psyop to fake it's a ball or to fake that it's a glass dome or fake there's more land? Well, money and people investing in it and having access to waging on it in the form of a bet. And this is where I'm going to invite the entire state of Nevada and its statewide gaming commission to collaborate with this event where people from around the world, once it reaches critical mass, even with all this bickering and arguing about being a pancake, being a bowl, being a saucer, being a snow globe, let's all bring it to a front here and do this trek. And people from around the world, knowing about this debate raging around the world, outside of television right now, are going to be able to bet on whether or not the Earth is a ball, or it's hollow, or it's concave, or it's just a flat disk, or if it's just an area we've been in all this time that's been blocked off by navies and they're concealing other land, that they're not modifying the food crop with Monsanto, they're not geoengineering and spraying the atmosphere, they're hiding an abundance of minerals and resources that would collapse the markets of scarcity, which rule the fear of man and woman right now, nation to nation, pointing guns at each other and actually extrapolating the concepts of depopulation, vaccination, sterilization, and this massive security complex that's unfolding at the same time to police all these things while they modify your environment and control you through this modification. If we actually were able to go across and there's more land, everything collapses. All that collapses. The New World Order is shot. It's not just shot because it's flat. You better watch out because it's shot if there's more. And you discover they've been lying about the shape of the Earth to hide more. Because you go from a model of scarcity to abundance, you have a renaissance. And so having the Gaming Commission on board and people pooling in their money to bet on either side, which one do you think the majority of the planet, when it comes down and, shut up or pay up? Most people are they're gonna bet on the Earth being a
ball. Put your eye on the ball.
Yeah, they're gonna bet on it being a ball, and the likelihood for what most people will believe is that it is a ball. So they'll do a safe bet, or maybe a big bet, because they think that this guy or this idea is so stupid. I'm going to put $30,000 on it being a ball because the odds are going to be less for it being a ball, right? And greater if it's flat. So they're going to put a lot of money on to make the return on the windfall because it'd be like more bets in favor it's a ball than flat. It'd be like maybe it's going to be a point spread of 1,000,000-1. So, and then people are going to bet it's flat. Well, most of them are probably poor because they're like definitely challenging the status quo and they're somewhat anti-establishment. They're on the margins of society. They can't even buy a telescope so they could actually get a proper one that won't have light refraction or be blocked by the humidity coming up from the water, because these things are expensive and you need a proper telescope. And so, but they have this inclination, this rock and roll intuition. They want to just put $10 down that it's flat. Well, if it's 1,000,000-1, then it's quite a bit of money. And you can actually pay them out if you have most of the people betting a lot of money that it's a ball. So the windfall, if it's flat, is incredible. And there's a way where the house can make money on either or, right? So the amount of money that could pour into an event, not just betting, but an event, an existential, scientific, legal, economic, spiritual, mathematical, artistic, political, sociological, psychiatric assessment, a manner of measure, undeniably, verifiably, put the moon landing to rest, put all these experiments, all these pictures to rest, and go in a straight line across the South Pole, and people can bet on it. The amount of accountability that is needed, because trillions, billions worldwide will be poured into this betting event. You bet your bottom dollar, okay? They won't be able to fake it.
Yeah.
This is what will police it. This is the mechanism to police a pure, rigorous, hardcore, hyper-realistic, unskewed application of scientific method. You have 5 different scientific bodies, all differing in their opinions of the shape of the earth, going and applying the same measurement event or same tool of measurement, straight line. And you have the gaming commissions of Monaco, Macau, Vegas, people online around the world, the native reserves, wherever there's a casino, people could watch it unfold in real time, day after day, like a very long cricket match, or a UFC fight that won't end. And then they don't hit that coastline, okay? Then we'll give a margin of 5-6 days for like all the teams to see if it shows up at some point. Maybe they went the wrong way. And you still don't hit that coastline. Hold on a second. I want to see if it's recording. Okay. I'm just going to okay. So the last point, sorry if you can just give me a recue if you got a memory on that. What else? I was just...
Yeah, you were talking about getting all the gaming commissions around the world on to...
Okay, yeah. Yeah, the amount of money pooled in, if they don't hit that coastline, and then we give the 4 to 5 days extra in case we went the wrong way and there's more snow that season or the whatnot, and we still don't hit that coastline. Or we hit the coastline where it should be, maybe they were this smart in their deception, and it's exactly where it would be on a globe. Well, I'm not going to suddenly just give in and say it's a globe and go all the way back the way I came in across. I'm on the other coast. I'm on the other side of the ball. Well, now I'm going to investigate that coastline. I'm going to take one of the motorboats off the side of my deployment unit, and I'm going to go across. I'm going to have a plane that's landed on the lodging compartment that's going to take off, or a helicopter. These things are big. We're going to have capacity to fly once we get somewhere, to go do recon, and also to see if there's any crevices or loose cracks, because some of these cracks could be like 2,000 feet deep, and if there's a fault somewhere, the weight of these the deployment equipment could actually just cave in a fault or a crack, and we can lose all the equipment. So every once in a while, skidoo. There's a front team in front of the deployment equipment. So because we're going to be carrying a lot of weight. So, and if we hit a crevice, well, we're going to go around. We're going to find out at what point we're doing a margin of error on a straight line. But the key is to find a way where we're doing a straight line. So if it means going around that crevice and coming back to that point, or finding some way to lay it across, and this is stuff that we have to know. Hey, we don't know what kind of foul play could happen. Maybe people are going to be making cracks, right? So, so our expedition equipment falls down a crack, but the globalists, their equipment doesn't, So there's going to be like camera equipment. There's going to be 100 people per deployment. Part of that's going to be camera crew recording, scientific record, and archive of this entire expedition. We're going to be dropping members of our team back in each expedition. We're going to be dropping people off because we're going to be laying down some sort of straight line where we're going to spike it every 100 miles. And we're going to be able to navigate either through like transponder or laser or something so we can keep our line straight. And we're going to drop people off on shacks from each of the 6 expeditions that are going to monitor that the line doesn't change course. It maintains a straight line. It's as simple as that. I'm applying to the scientific method an Occam's razor. If you don't know what that means, OCCAM''S. This would be the simplest way, okay? Because going up in the sky and showing the world a picture, I'm never going to see that point of view. This is the way. And they keep going, let's put up a balloon with a camera. Another freaking weather balloon? Are you kidding me? I'm never going to go up there. I can't fly. I don't have wings, okay? So, and, even if I get the jetpack, I got to have $200,000, and then I got to find out where I can fly it. And I don't think anybody's going to be able to fly that. So, but I can walk on the ground. So when I hit ground, after I've taken a boat, I'll see how far I can walk. But apparently you need clearance, and there's navies that are blocking you from doing that kind of event. And you can get arrested if you don't have clearance. So we've got to get to this to a point where an expedition happens, and this is the only way. Otherwise, you could have somebody go out and say, "I'm doing it for math. Matt, I'll tell you if it's flat." Idiot, it's a ball. It's like, no, that won't work. This is the only way. This is the only way I could think of, and I think it's a very, very unifying event for human beings to feel what it is to be an earthling or a human being on the ground that they stand upon. I think us all looking together, even if we have our different points of view, is going to be quite the educational revelation.
I agree. To unify humanity into one scientific event of the pardon the expression, event of the globe, or event of the earth, if you will. It would usher in a new renaissance if it is true, and at the very least, like you said, it would, at least for that time, unify humanity, and at the very least be a very interesting, fascinating undertaking.
Mm-hmm. And we're building these machines. We're doing the drawings. Where it's somewhat sleek and aerodynamic. It's going to risk the elements. It's not going to be clunky and fall apart like pipes and weird mechanics and like toyish. They're going to be there's going to be a lot of technology that's going to be developed in the process of moving towards an actual expedition. It's going to take a year to build these systems. Yeah, go on.
I was thinking, what a better way to challenge the tenacity of the human race is to utilize the latest technology to go over literally the last frontier, because it is. Nobody has been over that ice. Nobody really knows, except for, like you said, a few people with what they've written down and whatnot, and that was years ago, and now nobody can go there. Well, it is about time to open it back up, and let's go see if it stops or it keeps going, and if you get enough people on board, I think people naturally don't want to be penned in. If they figure out that they're behind a fence, they're going to want to get past that fence. If they figure out there might actually be more land, you're not going to be able to stop humanity. Go ahead.
It's just I thought so. At least this really kind of is a big carrot in front of the animal, where the animal's trying to race for the carrot. But as I push this forward, I've seen an effort to kind of discredit me by these people who are pushing a finite enclosed system, and then create their own movement that wants to drown out this very legitimate application of the scientific method. And they're saying the application of the scientific method is weather balloons and light spending on the horizon with lighthouses. And why don't we just go in a straight line here? And why is there an effort to demonize me as some sort of government agent or shill psyop? Entertain the notion. It's just like, yeah, go.
They'll not only demonize but ridicule and call names. There are people that are just so set on one thing, and they won't take a logical look even to entertain the notion, just to get it out of the way. They're just so set in saying that this is the way it is and that's it. It throws up red flags for me, especially when you have the establishment trying to put an end to it. So many coincidental red herrings, if you will, popping up to try to stifle.
And here's where it gets interesting. Let's say it's not a ball and it's flat, and all this time you never entertained it because you'd have to be an idiot, right? So there's this bullying going on. Oh man, people stupid. It's like, we thought the earth was flat. And I was like, what's so crazy about that? And I entertained the notion when I was told it was flat by certain individuals from that sphere of influence. And it was kind of an initiation process to see if I was going to have a sinister sense of humor that they could count on to just keep this hoax going. And I didn't. I'm not in it for the money. This isn't about the money for me. I can make money anytime I want. I always do. And I manage, but it's been very difficult. Don't think that I'm making money off this whole thing. This is a way to make money. It's like, no, this is a way to lose money. Okay? Clients find out you think the earth is flat and you've got a tremendous portfolio of hyper-realist paintings. That's how strong the brainwash is. The client doesn't want to deal with me. They think I'm an idiot. So
let me ask you, do you feel like going into a little bit of the story on how you actually, when you had this revelation, on how you actually found out?
Yeah, I will go into that. But at the same time, as people are like, show us your NASA badge and blah, blah. I was like, no. There's definitely there's an effort to kind of get people who are on side of this to kind of drop me and disregard what I'm doing. And okay, this guy's some sort of experiment and blah, blah. Or he didn't work for NASA and the whatnot. And then set up these situations where I could be legally arrested. You could easily stop hearing from me if I was stupid, and definitely when I created the NASA channel, it was all under the pretext of exercising your mind and entertainment. The entertainment of applying a scientific method, if you look at it this way. I've been very good over the last few years at commanding the physics of spills and puddles and stuff like that. I paint floors professionally, and I watch how physics unfold on immovable inert surfaces, flat surfaces like floors, where I employ different chemistries and I could time their thickness to evaporate and create different bleed effects with color bleeding into this puddle of water or this diluted ink, and sometimes apply fractal mathematics to how like the edge of a puddle and its jaggedness will actually echo that same jaggedness through different an infinitely smaller repetition of that form, if you follow, so that you get these kind of depths of field that are kind of fractal and infinite just in a 2 foot by 2 foot square puddle effect between colors and different chemistries. And if you throw like a perfectly cut out circle out of black construction paper, like a black space, and then there's a circle, and you throw that on that, and I just lift it up on one corner and make a shadow on the inside of that circle crop, it'll look like a planet. I mean, you've seen these guys that do it really hokey on the street with like spray cans. And that's pretty much what you got with your universe. NASA does have an arts department. They have an operational graphics department, and they have a PR department where they kind of do the wording and text underneath the science images to keep things legal or to explain what the heck we're looking at. And artists are employed. Okay, there's 10 companies that make up, subcontractors that make up the label NASA, and then you have the headquarters where people walk around with the badges. But then you have all these freelance subcontractors, and they all work together on different components of different instruments. And this isn't to say that NASA isn't doing some great work with polymers and coatings and epoxies and robotics. They are. They're doing quite a bit of stuff. Geoengineering, changing the weather, monitoring the weather, monitoring AI systems, autopilot planes. They're trying to put the entire World Wide Web of airspace on autopilot, so that we no longer have manned planes. This is a major operation going on with your taxpayers' money. Not so much. And when you think about the amount of stuff that NASA is actually doing, if they're doing that plus all this space exploration, it actually should almost surpass the amount of money they're being given. So don't worry, your money's not being wasted, okay? So, but it could be being wasted on just paintings, and there's these subcontractors doing all this stuff, and it's not NASA at all. They're pocketing the money, and they're deploying this equipment in the security apparatus that's being unrolled around you in the event you wake up, the Earth isn't a ball. So we're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars, right? So there's work going on, and it's triangulating through these 10 companies. And then outside of these 10 companies, if there's any kind of fakery going on, there's these sort of freelance scouts or temporary LLCs or companies that are like hiring artists to do graphics and or initial layers before they would be masked on Adobe or Illustrator or some other software that will eventually become a galaxy or a planet or the whatnot. And they'll claim that that's an image taken from a polychromatic camera or the whatnot, for all you know. And a matter of fact, we've actually unleashing this campaign, me and myself in 2006, I think, 7, I believe. I snuck it on live TV on a comedy competition, and I also did that so I could copyright these arguments on why it's not a ball through imagery, which I see a lot of domers employing right now, and I'm going to warn them right now. Anybody not citing me through fair use, which is fair use, and is actually discrediting me using things that I've used in a paid performance that I researched, wrote as a performer and an artist, to deploy this whole concept. It is part of my show. It is part of something I hold very, very dearly, and I have no problem sharing with the world. But when you kind of say I'm not the author of it, or I'm a fake, or I didn't do that, and then you want to subvert it and then defamate me and slander my character, I'm going to employ copyright. So that's one of the other reasons why I went on stage, and it was also to plant the virus. It was like, okay, let's see what happens. I got banned in the comedy world after that. It was a great performance. They said I got disqualified because I did too much time. I think I did too much time on that topic on live TV. And then from that point onward, there's a couple olive branches by the Canadian government to be a part of their star system and their government produced soap operas and television programming, and get me in the tax system and all that stuff. And there's a couple weird sort of roles offered to me that I didn't feel comfortable doing, that I certainly didn't want to be. And I'm not an actor. I love acting. I love doing stand up. I love filming things. And this is what I'd be doing if it was really a ball. But unfortunately, somebody told me it wasn't a ball, and they work in the field of aerospace with NASA, and they're artists, and they're also bullshit physicists, and they know what's really going on. So in the beginning, there was some people that really liked the way I painted floors, and they invited me out, and I was working with them for, just sending out textures and stuff like that and designs. And some of these people were connected with celebrity and stuff like that. And funny enough, even Cirque du Soleil, funny enough, was involved. And that gentleman was the owner of Cirque du Soleil. I did some work with his brother, and I've done some floors for them. And there were some individuals that were connected with that. And I did some textures in their big studio in Montreal. After 9/11, I started painting floors and stuff like that. And some of these layers were procured, or some people asked them, and then slowly just worked out that way, where I was supplying images or textures, abstract textures, and then trying to make them look real on how I would make colors puddle over each other from lights to dark, so it looked like there was a light source coming through a cloud of vapor, or it was like some sort of gaseous liquid mixing with a liquid on a planet. So these things were being employed on my floors, and I was taking pictures and sending images out. And I was talking to certain individuals about how it was being used, and it could be used for texture on a planet or the whatnot. And also I was asked to consult on designing images on where light sources would be on a celestial body and stuff like that. And I ran into some other artists as well who were working in these graphics departments, who were really, really doing the final touches on things. And I said, the whole thing's just art. It's just like all the science is like, you see these McGill students going around during Frosh Week going, science rules, art sucks, science rules, art sucks. You see it in all these campuses, like your whole science is backed by art, you dum-dums. It's like all of it, the whole universe. So after the show, I put it on stage. I mean, the judges looked at me like I was Satan. I was no longer, this is how I got it out. This is one way I could get it out, was through comedy, because it is funny. But the joke is on you, unless you wake up and then you could talk about how stupid this foolery, this tomfoolery, this deception really is, and how pathetic it is. And people kind of, their minds blow open with a big smile and they laugh. They can't believe it. Oh my God. And so this was the kind of, and that kind of, when you see a bunch of people, like 1,000 people or 3 million people that are in their living rooms laughing with the audience in that stadium or that amphitheater, and there's like 3 million people, it's waving through the television set, you're saying they didn't go to the moon, this is why I think they didn't go, look at that, this is so obvious, out of the box, oh, here's a satellite, your money's worth, going for the first time to Jupiter, there's a picture of the satellite just about to hit the atmosphere of Jupiter. Well, I guess that was followed by a camera satellite filming the satellite reach Jupiter. I mean, it's just stupid things like that. Like when you really get out of the box, I don't have to look at how the shadows don't add up on the surface of the moon with the lunar module. I mean, I got funnier, easier, mind-blowing concepts to pop an audience's mind. And it was kind of almost comedy meets hypermentalism realism. And it was like a psychiatric intervention using comedy and art. And my right to express myself, my freedom of expression as an artist and the creative process of expressing my art. So, and lo and behold, all of NASA is art, It's like one of the greatest art houses on the planet, right? So just pumping it out so you could live in your world. So I put this all out, and there were certain individuals that even went to space that were employing me to do design or using my spaces through their family to party in that, and they actually went to, I remember his brother one time took me aside. He was hiring me to do floors. He said, my brother's going to go to space. And is he going to be the first civilian? And I was like, wow, just this guy, just looking at him at parties and how he's bouncing off walls off God knows what he took. That guy's going to space, then the whole thing's fake. There's no freaking way. And he's going to go with a clown nose too, I bet. You guys can check that out. So, yeah, clown in space. I think they're just laughing at you. But he took some awesome photos. I have to give him that, of the Earth. And I might even paint a couple of them as a floor design. So I will give him that. He took some awesome photos. But actually, the best photos were taken by a clown that went to space. I will give him that. I'll give Guy La Liberté that. And so, even from space, a spotlight's a spotlight. When I shine like a flashlight, it makes a perfect circular light, right? And the rest outside of the spotlight is black. So the spotlight makes a circle. So if the sun's a big, huge light, then it's going to shine a spotlight into this whole nether region of black space. It only has that much intensity. So that as well might give the illusion that there's a curve. But I also want to bring back another big popper that I was kind of talking about, like in the heliocentric model. You have the sun. So if we say the Earth is a ball, this is a good one for all the FE community here, and I'm going to repeat it. Under the model that the Earth is a ball, okay? So nobody believes this whole thing. This guy's crazy I'm listening to. That's fine, but you've listened this far. Now I want you to take your Earth, okay? I say Earth. What's the first image that comes to your mind? Well, yeah, it's that thing they showed you never saw, right? By the way, that's also part of the show. Just that simple question. That thing that you see as the Earth in your mind that you never saw from that point of view. That itself is also part of this presentation I did on TV, where everything after in my life just went hell on high wheels. So it's because there was a lot of opportunities that closed. I didn't make money off this. I actually got hit by a car in 2010, and I couldn't get the police reports. And then when I got them, they were all whited out. So that was very, very difficult for me. So when I see people employing finally all these beautiful proofs in this show that I did, and I took a risk for my life, my career, my name. I lost girlfriends, friends, family, loved ones. They judged me. They decided to overlook my entire life's work and portfolio as a hyper-realist and believe that I was a nut bar. And then get hit by a car and then be told by people who now realize that that telescope is still seeing the boat and it's evidently flat, are calling me a fake and not an author of this entire movement. I'm not saying I want to lead the movement, but I will lead this expedition, and I told you why. Because it's going to be a pure application of the scientific method, and I'm opening it up to my detractors. And the system and the mechanism for accountability that's going to be purely applied, the scientific method, is the only one I could think of right now, and I think it's the most legit. Because once you have the same amount of money being bet on this event that was spent out to fake your universe, I mean, that's going to police the result. So I want to go back to this. The Earth is a ball. That's what's in your head. That's what they showed you, but you never saw it. Imagine it. Imagine your whole universe. Now, if the Earth is a ball, they say the sun is got to be 1,000 times bigger than the Earth, and 93 million miles, this I believe, 93 million miles from the Earth. So I want you to imagine your Earth as a ball, and the sun is in the center of your solar system. Your solar system. The sun is the center, and you move around the sun, not in a perfect circle, but an oval ellipse. Okay? And it takes 1 year for the Earth as a ball to go around that sun. To make a day, the appearance of the day with a celestial sun that's 1,000 times in diameter the Earth, 93 million miles away, it takes 24 hours. All right? Which means the Earth, if it's 26,000 miles in circumference, has to be spinning 1,000 miles per hour on some sort of axis to create day and night. Okay? And to make a full year, 93 million miles from the sun, it's got to be clocking a speed of 65,000 miles, I believe, not kilometers, around the sun. The Earth is spinning on itself 1,000 miles an hour. It's spinning around this great sun 65,000 miles per hour to do a whole year. So let's say we've got the Earth in July on this side of the sun. The sun that's daylight on the side of the Earth is the side facing the sun. The night side is facing the other way away from the sun, blocked by the front side of the sphere of the Earth. So it makes dark night, kind of like an orange away from a spotlight or a bulb. So you're seeing the stars at the grace of night. So you see the stars. Now let's cut to 6 months later where the Earth would be in that oval orbit around the sun. It wouldn't be a quarter into the ellipse, like half a quarter pi. It would be halfway in its orbit around the sun, which brings the Earth on the complete opposite end of the sun, 186 million miles away, 93 million miles times 2 from its point in July. That's really freaking far from where it was in July. Now, the side that's lit by day is that side that was once night on the other side in July. Now, that side, right? Just imagine your universe, right? So the side that's lit on the Earth 6 months later is on the other side of the sun. So nighttime is 196 miles or 186 million miles from where nighttime was 6 months ago. So how am I seeing the same stars? And this is where they just keep plugging their hole. I don't know if I made it any clearer here, okay? It's 6 months later, you're on the other side of the sun. Do you follow this, Mr. Rowe?
Yeah, I'm following it the best I can. I understand what you're saying, but
the Earth is July there, and you got the stars on the other side. So what they're saying is that, I mean, you're 100 and I'm looking at the other end out at nighttime once I'm on the other side of the sun of the galaxy. Now I'm seeing the same stars I saw on the other side. So what, the stars all shifted with me while I was spinning 1,000 miles an hour, clocking 65,000 miles an hour around the sun? The whole galaxy was spinning what, like 80 gazillion trillion miles an hour? All these stars were just happened to be spinning at the same speed as we were spinning on ourselves, spinning around the sun, so we could always get the same stars in the sky even 6 months later? That's just completely insane. That sounds to me what you need to say when you start spinning lies, right? And then what happens is the whole thing just spins out of control, you know? And that's what's happening right now on this bald Earth. Yeah. And that's what this is. It's enough to make your head spin. Yeah. You know, and then this dome, look, it's still half a ball. You're just going through ball withdrawal. All right. The idea here is like you can have an enclosed system because you believe it's finite, or you can keep going. It's either you have an enclosed amount of world because that's where the Earth drops off, or it continues, but that's where you deny it because your courage falls apart. So that's why this expedition, I think, is important. And then it comes to the idea of there's 47 nations. And here's another financing vector that could be interested in what the heck's going on out there and why are we not allowed to go. It's 47 nations. And the 6 at the top of them are the ones on the UN Security Council. And they all got nukes pointed at each other, kind of like Russian roulette at the UN Security Council table going, I won't say anything if you don't. And they all got like guns pointed at each other's heads like reservoir dogs, right? So, and these 6 decide the fate of every other nation in the United Nations, which has that enclosed flat Earth symbol on its flag. Like that last rung, that's a finite enclosed flat Earth. Be very careful of that. And those white lines are like a cage, like over the continents, kind of like the white haze that's being sprayed out of planes. It's not that you live in an enclosed system. It seems like they have built one or they've imposed a border once again, and you're just applying that border like it's nature. But that's your brainwash, right? So just go across, just apply a straight line, see what happens, and see at what point you're stopped like it matches that map of the UN, and also backed by the fact that you still see the Chicago skyline on a flat plane. So But that's what this whole challenge is about. I mean, are these 47 people trying to keep us away from somebody across the ice? And you were mentioning recently you saw something. I don't want to cue you like it's fake, but we've been interrupted how many times?
Yeah, I mentioned this to you about the what is labeled the Antarctic Defense Force, which I've never heard of, and I have seen a video which I shared with Matthew of a guy that he has a U.S. patch, but he's flying alongside an Argentinian jet, apparently patrolling the Antarctic area. And they have a landing strip down there, and they're using like what look like F-16s to me. And this was made for his girlfriend, which probably was not supposed to be uploaded and put out there. I just happened to come across it in my field of view, and she is mentioning how he is down there with the Antarctic Defense Force protecting us. Now the question is, what is he protecting us from? Or is that just part of the ruse? So it brings up a whole is there someone else trying to get in? Or is that a ruse? But it's just food for thought. But yeah.
But what does she mean by us? Is she's like, it's her boyfriend and he's part of the security to keep us out. So does us mean the people beyond? And they actually hired 47 sellout nations to keep us in? And these nations are from us? Or is it really there's a treaty between some people in the other territory, the other, ocean bodies with their continents who've said, you guys got to sell on this and keep it in. We don't want that scum here. Or wait, we don't want that scum here. Can we just okay, let's create the United Nations. Let's buy off all these tribes, create a world government. Okay, surround them, keep them there. It sounds more like there might be, here's where it gets creepy. It's it's the people beyond that are keeping us in here.
Yes.
And that's my concern here. So it's not only pushing back, and this is where it takes a lot of effing courage for, and this is where we need to call on, the volition, the imagination, the oaths taken by the world's democratic republic militaries and policemen and women around this plane, okay, to protect the freedom of expression, to apply the American Constitution or whatever equivalent they've taken an oath to protect, which furthers the advancement of humanity and the truth. And I believe that the scientific method, if applied rigorously, is really a recipe to discover truth, right? So it will, so therefore, it being the recipe for discovering truth, then the scientific method will set you free.
There you go.
It will set you free. And we haven't really applied it with whether or not the earth is a ball. We haven't applied the scientific method to the container of all of science itself. Only two bodies, and then if you want to be a part of the group, it's only because you mustered everything up and managed to make a rocket with nuclear weapons. So you got a bargaining chip to go check out what's going on up there, or using that as a ploy to be part of the nuke club, but it's, or the UN security game. But there's definitely a real policing going on 60,000 feet up. It's all the same people, it's all the same people around you. So was it all set up by people from the other continent, like queens and kings that are even higher than the kings and queens you have in this area? That, and these people are just outpost handlers. I mean, that begs the question too, just because we get clearance or we kind of put this all, push comes to shove, and I know they don't want me seated with anybody of legitimacy or clout or power that's somewhat compartmentalized and doesn't know that there's this ruse, but they're in charge of clearing access for people who want to go and explore Antarctica. They don't want a man with my presentation skills, my arguments, my research, the educational value of this entire query to even sit down with people who are appointed as legitimate authorities to allow access and clearance. And I'm concerned that before it gets so big and people are all asking, why don't you let this guy do it? Or why don't we get behind this guy? Either everybody's going to turn against me and be tricked by slick graphics or the group mentality versus one, or they're going to realize what I'm saying in this interview, and they're going to help me to control a legitimate application of the scientific method, because I believe that system's very soft core paradigm shift. It's not bloodshed. The world's divided into this weird, deep, spiritual, romantic, bloody war where there's like the ballers versus the flatlanders. I mean, that's just creepy. And I bet you that some people want that because they're already thinking about picking up some Oscars in about 40 years about that world war. I mean, so I mean, that's, you know, so really it's just a soft core event, but it's highly accountable. It's a big budget, and actually the rights to broadcast the real raw context as a legal affidavit and exhibit A to the Gaming Commission that the results are real. That too, going out in theaters, the people supporting this, all the information that's going to open up. If I'm right, then it's a renaissance, right? It's all over again. It's a renaissance.
You know, people hear the word flat Earth, and then they instantly go into this wacky tinfoil hat mode kind of thing where, oh, you know, you think the Earth might be flat, blah, blah. And they stop short of realizing what you just said, that it's more than that. It's not as cut and dry as is it flat or a globe. It's, have we been deceived to a point beyond comprehension that, you know, there's an answer right around the corner to most of the problems that we're facing as a human species right now. I mean, imagine a bountiful resources, you know, room to breathe, to find out that there's new frontiers, a renaissance, a renewing of the of the spirit of camaraderie with your fellow man, of honor, and of true discovery in an honorable way. You know, that we've seen the powers that be, and the way they run things. You know, you judge a tree by its fruit. And, I mean, to just blindly trust a government agency like NASA or a corporation or a group of folks that say, don't trust us. You can't go there, but we've already got all the answers, so just shut up and take it. That's ridiculous. I mean, come on. So I totally agree with what you're saying with the exhibition, giving everybody an equal, fair shake at it and saying, okay, let's find out once and for all. Let's go for it. And, wow, what a thing to move away from the climate of fear and war and pestilence and problems to something that, you know, and hey, you know, if...
Let's see if it's even a ball. Yeah. Let's see if it's even a ball. Like, you guys are about to go and do all this. Actually, what they want to do is maybe having like the military divided over this, where it's the military of the world that does this New World Order, World War III. And they're like, you guys are cheating and lying and stealing from taxpayers, and you frauded reality. We've got to do a police military action. I mean, that's also quite possible as a result of the expedition. But I would say before we need to go to bloodshed and all that, I think we need to keep our focus here on my challenge, because I did put the question out. There's a whole movement that's spreading. I mean, last I checked on the YouTube filter, you could check Flat Earth past hour, and it was like 5 or 6 in the last hour. It's like over 100 a day. It's not going to stop. And then, you know, like, but my main issue here is I think even between the Christians and everybody, it just seems like they would just love a massive calamity, like a fight, a fisticuffs before an actual like event to apply the truth, so they could be a distraction to it. And it may not even be about that. They might have like, but they seem to be setting up for, you know, needing a security, hyper security, paramilitarized police forces around the world. Like, there's something coming where a lot of people might not trust the powers that be. I mean, it's evident post 9/11 how it's unrolled. And you would need all these little events in the event the Earth wasn't a ball, so you can unroll the security apparatus with almost tacit consent by the public, using some other scapegoat as the excuse to do so. But I see it invariably unrolling as I talk more and more about this, and more talk about it, and And I even see the weaponization of the movement against me, and then people even accusing me of what I'm accusing them of doing, which is I'm dividing and conquering. No, I will bat off anybody who's pushing the absolute of offense, and they're kind of trying to drown me out as a fraud, and I didn't come up with this. I don't care about leading this movement. It's too much work. But I definitely will acknowledge who's trying to lead it, who might be appointed as a leader. But I am maintaining I want to control and lead a scientific method that's going to prove the Earth is not a ball. And that's the position of my team, alongside four other teams and a backup expedition deployment for my team in the event that we're correct. And we will need our own security, especially if we're talking about this idea that, and if it is being controlled by another civilization across the ice, they won't even let me go. But we'll get that on camera. And then we'll have a boat rush, like cannonball run style. You know what I mean? Just like, and I want to get back to, there's 47 nations, but that's not how many nations there are. There's like a 300 and change. And they're not allowed access either. So maybe that's where my investment lies in this entire expedition, is the curiosity and the questioning why the rest of the world is not allowed to go, and there's a minority that's controlling the extent of your real estate. So that could be also an interesting trigger. But once again, I don't want to have people freak out, and I don't want people take what I'm saying and I'm trying to radicalize something to a physical altercation like some people are claiming I'm trying to do, or divide the movement. I'm just saying my model, it's soothing and it opens up a renaissance. Discovering the world wasn't a ball and it's flat and you're still in the same fence of problems could be worse. And I'd be very careful about how people would come in and take charge of the new power vacuum and who would do that. So, and then who always maintains a crown on their head, no matter who the new guard is. So, I'd be really concerned about that. And there's this kind of like conditioning, even in the religious community. I mean, like I was talking about the Bible before, and it's like, it's an interesting word, the Bible, because I don't even think that was the word they used to call that book 2,000 years ago. First off, the English language wasn't invented. Those symbols for the letter B and I and B and L and E weren't invented. And it's supposed to be 2,000 years old. That's before the word Bible. But it's interesting. You walk around, people like who read the Bible are ready to deny the Bible in the name of the Bible. And then when you listen to the sound of that word, it's really bi-ball. It's like bi-ball. It's like two balls, moon and earth, or bi-ball, buy into it, right? Or buy the balls. Because they literally got everybody by the balls here. And they're going around saying Bible, and Bible rhymes with libel. You got to put your hand on the Bible to swear that you're not going to be liable. And it all has to do with the eyeball. So you're saying sounds of other concepts that share the same sounds, and you're saying them to yourself like you're casting a spell all day, and you don't even realize it. To the point where the spell's so strong, you're denying the very Bible that states the earth is fixed and immovable, while you're claiming, you believe in the Bible. So that's how strong the spells of words are. And that's also playing into this. That's a whole other topic. But they got them by the balls. I'm going to go read the by the ball to get you by the ball. So, something else I wanted to, that was something else we missed out on. And so who made the by the ball about creation, and who's playing the Vatican to say, don't believe that part of God's creation. God was wrong. And who sent that person in? Why does that guy get 2 hours of time with, the president of Russia or the president of the United States? Like you see the leader of a nation get up out of his desk, leave the affairs of the nation to go greet a guy coming out of a military helicopter with a dress on, some weird scarf, a long cross with a dead man nailed to it, and some weird open head fish head hat. And he's going to walk around the White House on taxpayers' time and money? What are they talking about? Don't tell me they're talking about Jesus. Okay? So these guys came up with the calendar. They came up with the shape of the ball, and the royals are the kind of like, and their navies enforce it. And this guy's still got airtime with our leaders. And they're going to tell you to deny Christ, deny all you Christians. And it's going to be interesting to see how most of them will go for a finite deity, a lesser God with lesser powers. And are these people working for the Antarcticans?
Yeah.
Right. The Antarcticans are the ones that are keeping us out of Antarctica. If they've got their own Air Force, right? Right? Like you
They've
say.
got an airstrip down there. They've got F-16s. And
Oh, wow. The Antarcticans don't mess around, huh? They don't want our cigarette butts, our gas, or our emissions, or our food, or wrappers after the 60th latitude. They don't F around. And they got all our countries, all our nations, all the leaders of our little section keeping us in. I mean, it makes you wonder. It makes you really wonder, huh? It doesn't mean that they're friendly across the ice either. Perhaps it's those people at the other territory doing this to our world. Yeah. So when you wonder where somebody who did some dirty work disappears to, is maybe it's not maximum security. There's a little door at the back of that prison cell, and there's a helicopter waiting for him, and he keeps going south. Right? So is there what other comments or thoughts you might have on this that the audience might appreciate?
Well, I think we've covered quite a bit. We've jumped all over. I want to first thank you very much for the presentation and the time and effort that we've gone through to get this out. But go ahead and give out any information you want about how to contact you to get this started, and if you have any social media platform or websites, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I do want to mention that I want to do the telescope experiments myself that I've proposed. So when I sell paintings and art, it not only keeps me alive and moving and meeting people and doing little shows here and there, and I'm also going to purchase the telescope that we need and try to conduct something. So I'm going to do a little something where I'm going to give the people who are listening, or people who are interested in this experiment, at least in perception on what people think is real. And you'd like to see what I saw from the stage looking down at 1,000 people when I would ask them if they thought this image on the screen was a painting or a photo, and it was a picture of the Earth. If you want to see the reaction I see in every eyeball when I ask them that, I'm making shirts where it's basically going to be a picture of the Earth that I painted that looks like a photo, but how the F would you know? Because you've never seen that point of view. And it's just going to have 2 words on that shirt. It's going to say photo or painting. And the whole experiment is you put the shirt on and you get to experience what I experienced when I said it to a crowd walking down the street. Just that simple exercise. Them seeing the Earth as a ball. Let me guarantee you, when human beings, see the Earth as a ball, eyeballs go right for the ball. They go right for the ball. Like it's just this weird thing, like a bull seeing red. Every human being sees a picture of the ball, their eyes go to it. They see it. It's like a weird programming. You'll see this. And then you'll actually, as you're walking with this picture of the Earth as a ball, and it just says those 2 words, photo or painting, question mark, you're going to be able to see their eyes pop as they see and read this. Okay? And you're going to experience you popping people out of the matrix with this simple question. So I'm going to be selling these shirts for girls, low cutoff, guys, short sleeve. And you could support me through that at the Wizard Math Powerland. For those of you who have a special skill in electronics, converting motors to hydrogen, jimmy rigging things in the cold at the last minute, very smart with equipment, tough, healthy, don't have any vices or ailments that could impair your life on this expedition, and you speak more than one language, please contact me by cover letter, explaining the value you add to the expedition, your experience in the past, if you've worked for the special forces or even the military, and why you would like to do this expedition on any one of these teams. It could be the globalists as well. You can send me that information to mathpowerland at gmail.com. And God willing, we'll meet, we'll screen you, we'll interview you, we'll put you on camera. And if you pass the criteria, we're going to prove something here. And you'll be part of one of the greatest moments and achievements in human history. So that's what I'm doing right now. And if you want to do a live show somewhere in a warehouse where there's like attractive dancers rolling around and painting floors and paintings that are going to be auctioned off that look like planets and all this wild stuff where I'm doing this in a circus format, you could also email me and contact me there, and then I'll send you a show package. And we usually sell shirts at this show, bring awareness, and we'll be also pooling together with anybody who wants to be a part of fundraising by creating an institute of sorts, a gallery, a nerve center, a headquarters for this entire operation. So contact me there if you want to get involved in any of this, or just purchase a shirt. Thank you very much, Mr. Rowe, for your time and your patience trying to get this communique across.
All right, well, and likewise, thank you, Matthew Powerland, for your patience and this fascinating presentation. We'll be in touch, and just want to wish you good luck in this, and I will be definitely keeping tabs on this. I might even come up with a skill myself. So
you want to get in with the Antarcticans. It seems like they're running the show. Okay.
All right.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. And once again, Godspeed. And keep me informed if you see anybody weird or, violating the laws of copyright and not just the laws of gravity. Right.
Okay. Will do. All right. Take care, sir.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.